Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 2 of my new video series on extraordinary experiences. Today, I am joined by Mr. Enos Anderson. He is a natural healer. He currently lives in Trinidad, which is off the coast of Venezuela. And he also has a home in Jamaica, and he has lived in various places around the world and has practiced natural healing around the world. He's had some pretty incredible experiences in working with people. And he reached out to me after I put a call on Facebook asking if anyone wanted to share their extraordinary experiences. I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, Enos. Welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. Pleasure being here.
Same for me. So before we begin, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the kind of work that you do.
Okay. In a broad sense, I am a healer. I use different modalities to achieve this healing. I use natural herbs, I use energy, and I use hypnosis. And I think the most fascinating modality is hypnosis because it requires me tapping into a person's subconscious and allowing the subconscious to do the healing.
And just for clarity, you are a trained hypnotherapist, correct?
Yes, I am a certified hypnotherapist certified by the Past Life Regression Academy in London.
Okay.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay. So in your work, you have had some pretty interesting experiences in actually working on healing people. Of course, I think you and I are sort of in the same understanding that you're just a facilitator, that nature's basically doing the work and you just kind of open the door. Would you agree?
Yes. And I must confess that in my early days doing healing, I thought at first that I believed that some God was working through me to do the healing. And after that, I started to believe that I had a special gift. And I had this most profound dream or vision one morning. I saw this old guy standing in front of a little shack, and he said to me that your healing does not make you special. You're not special. It is an ability that all humans have. And he also gave me a tip saying, when you're going to heal someone, it is not necessary that you know the biology and the physiology and all of that. He said, energy is intelligent and it will do the work. Yes, so that really took my ego out of the healing.
And have you seen that proven true?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Actually, it occurs to me, so just for our audience's edification, I never met you until we had a conversation about this last week, I think. And you came to me through a referral of a friend after I put this on Facebook. So it's an honor to be here with you today and to talk about this again. One of the things that came up the other day when we spoke was your experiences as a young child where you started having dreams around 8, 9, 10 years old that you said seemed to indicate that there was some other existence somehow, some way. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, as a young child, I would get these dreams like I was living in another time, another planet or something, but it was clearly not Earth. And I would get these thoughts of this life not being the only life that I have lived. So I started thinking, what is the point if this was it? What is the point of learning, gathering knowledge, if at death it all disappears? And as I would think, I would get answers. And I didn't know where these answers were coming from, and I didn't understand some of the answers I got. So as a child, I just kept it within. But being in a home where my parents were Christians and all the people around me were Christians, I know that I could not speak about this, because for them, life was, you lived, you either sinned or you lived a perfect life, and you either went to hell or heaven. But I was understanding that this could not be true. So from an early age, I I got the insight, or should I say download, that life is not what we think it is here. We do live many lives.
Was it difficult for you to reconcile that with your upbringing? Or because the way you speak about it, it sounds like it was just sort of this natural a conclusion that you came to, which was basically that what you'd been taught was wrong. Were you okay with that? Was that easy to deal with?
Yes, because one of the things that made it easy was that I did not discuss it with anyone. Because if I did, then I would have gotten so much pushback. So I internalized it and accepted that what was coming from that inner voice was the truth. But I still continued on the religious path of my parents and society. I went to school and high school and got brainwashed a little bit more in religion.
Was it a private school?
It was a public school, but a Catholic. It was either Catholic or Anglican, where we had to go to Sunday school, and everything was preceded by a prior, and we had a subject in school called religious education, which I later realized was not religious education, because the only textbook used was the Bible. So no other religion was mentioned. Yes, it was very limited.
Yeah. I have another question that is, this just comes to me. Where in the world were you at this age when you started having these dreams? What culture were you being brought up in at the time?
I was in Jamaica, and Jamaica is predominantly Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Jamaica has, I think they have the Guinness world record for the most churches per square mile.
Wow. Fascinating.
Yes.
Who would have thought? Okay. I've been to Jamaica. It's not gigantic, so that's pretty interesting.
Yes. We have a lot of churches, and we have a lot of sinners.
Sure. So yes. You mentioned in your dreams that about the another existence that maybe yes. Maybe you had lived somehow before you became aware of it at 8, 9, 10 years old.
Right.
This is a concept that is foreign to the Western mindset. In the West, we are all about right here, right now. If you can't see it, taste it, smell it, touch it, or hear it, it doesn't exist. And you should dismiss whatever experience you have because yes. It doesn't fit in with that truth. Can you say you didn't have difficulty reconciling this? I guess I'm thinking about maybe because you were a child and you hadn't had as many years of indoctrination or brainwashing, as you said, through school and society in general. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to address this from the perspective of the Western mindset, that just because it's a foreign concept to us in the West doesn't mean that it's wrong or ridiculous or should be negated. It's just something to consider, is how I would put it. I regularly tell people that I don't hold beliefs, I just hold possibilities. And so I guess I see the whole concept of living before I ever got here as a possibility. And I guess I would just encourage listeners who are struggling with the idea to just set it aside as a potential possibility. It doesn't have to be your truth. Just consider it as something that is possible. And essentially, I believe in physics, if it's possible, it's possible. So again, just possibilities. Okay, do you have anything else you would like to add to that, actually?
Yes. When I speak to people and they talk about the impossibility or possibility of previous lives or lives after this life, my response now is that you can find out for yourself if you will allow yourself to be hypnotized. Because through hypnosis or past life regression type of hypnosis, you can, in a state of deep trance, re-experience a life that you have lived before.
So Westerners also have a difficult time with hypnosis, even though the field of psychology really used it as a tool in many times and places over the last century at least. There are many counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists who use it. I think the concern comes from, you know, the 80s scare about satanic cults and whatnot. People get very unnerved when where it's suggested that they go inward in that kind of way. So I'm curious, can you tell us, can you share your experience of how hypnosis works with you and the people that you've worked with?
Okay. Well, first of all, hypnosis is not mind control.
Thank you. Exactly.
You can, at any time, regain full consciousness from whatever depth of hypnosis you are. And if I have a client who is in deep hypnosis and I notice some signs of discomfort, it is possible that that discomfort is because the client wants to go use the bathroom to pee. And that client can get up from my hypnosis couch, go to the bathroom, do everything normally, come back to the couch, and go back right to that depth that they were at. That's one. So it's not mind control. You're not, I cannot have you do anything that you would not normally do while you're fully awake. The other thing is that we all experience bouts of hypnosis throughout the day. Were it not for that, our minds would, our conscious minds would be on fire. It would be overworked. And these hypnotic bouts is what allows our conscious mind to take a break. So you're reading a book, you get lost in that make-believe world, you are in a state of trance. You're watching a movie, your husband walks into the room, and you're not even aware that he is there. That is light trance that you're in. Now, to do work, healing work, past life work, you do need to be in a deeper state of hypnosis. So there is light hypnosis and there is deep hypnosis. So the work that I do is I do hypnotherapy, which is to provide relief, healing, or to free a person from phobias or addictions, like gambling, smoking, stuff like that. I also use hypnotherapy to heal. I facilitate healing by tapping into the person's subconscious.
Interesting.
And we, as humans, as learned as we are, as civilized as we are yet to realize the power of our minds. We have studied the placebo effect, and tapping into the subconscious is like turning on that placebo tap full blast. So with the subconscious, you can heal just about anything in body or mind. I had one lady, she came to me because she was suffering from anxiety. And one of the things that brought on her severe anxiety was driving. She had a job where she had to drive to work, and it was about half an hour from where she lived, but it would take her 2 hours to get to work. She would drive a little bit, she would get so anxious, she had to stop, walk around her car, relax, start over. And she started getting something like Bell's palsy on her face, where one side of her face would get that nervous twitch.
Yeah.
And that's how she finally came to me when it got real bad. And in one session, her subconscious was able to heal her anxiety and that, call it a nervous tick on her face. The next morning, she came to me on a Friday. The Saturday morning, about 11 o'clock, she called me and she said, "Mr. Anderson, you would never believe where I am." I said, "Where are you?" She says, "I am at the beach. I have wanted to drive to the beach for ages, but I couldn't." She said, "My anxiety is gone." And that was one session.
That's
so
powerful.
It is. And that is all. I'm not the healer there. I'm just the guide and the facilitator.
Right.
And that's just one example. My favorite example, though, is the gentleman, young man with erectile dysfunction. He was very successful in all aspects of his life, except for his sex life. And after years and years of counseling and meditation, he finally came to me. And he asked me, "So, Mr. Anderson, how long is this going to take for you to fix me?" I said, "Most likely one session, but not necessarily immediately. But I won't have to see you 10 times, maybe twice." So we did our session, and I asked his subconscious, "How long before this healing will be complete?" And his subconscious said 4 weeks. In 2 weeks, a young man called me, and you would think that he had just hit the lottery. He was so happy. So
Yeah, that can be a
that's
lottery.
that's yes, that is how powerful your subconscious is. And just to prove that I don't determine everything, I will ask your subconscious if it is appropriate at this time to initiate this healing. And your subconscious makes the decision. Sometimes it says no, sometimes it says yes. So that is one thing that I do with hypnosis. The other very interesting thing that I do with hypnosis is past life regression.
Oh, do you mind talking about that? Because I have thoughts and feelings about that, but I'm curious to hear how you go about doing it and if you've had extraordinary experiences within that process.
Oh, yes. I love doing past life regressions. I love
Why?
doing them. It's a thrill for me to take that journey with the client into that past life. Because while I am guiding the person, I am taking that walk. In my mind's eye, I'm seeing everything that they're seeing. So,
you're actually seeing
in my mind's eye.
Yeah, you see the imagery that they are seeing.
Yes.
It's kind of projected to you. Okay.
Yes. So this person is an African chief. And this was a female. And she is describing the setting in Africa. She's describing the attire, the spear that the guy has, and the people that he communicates with. And I'm able to visualize all of this. So I love taking that ride with my clients. So the one good thing about being in Trinidad is that a large part of piece of the population is belongs to the Hindu faith.
In Trinidad?
Yes.
That's unexpected.
Oh,
fascinating.
Trinidad
Settled
is
by India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Racially, I'd say half the population here is African, and the other half is Indian.
Neat. Okay.
Or mixes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Hindu religion is very popular here, and Hindus believe in reincarnation.
Right.
So many clients that I see, they have been brought up to believe it, and they would like validation. So to tell me something and for me to experience it are different things. So they come to me and they experience a past life. Sometimes a person presents to me with a problem, and I will say to the person, I think your problem can be solved by going back to the past life or a past life where the root of this problem lies. The root is not in this life, and just trying to heal it is not what my inner voice is leading me to. So although you might come to me with a headache, I might see where it is best if you do a past life. And you go back to a past life and you, all right, let me give you a specific case. There was a lady who had pain in her lower stomach area. And she'd had this pain for years. And she had gotten to the point where she was on daily prescription pain medication. And she asked me if I could do a past life for her. So I said yes. I did the past life for her, And she went back to a life where she lived in some rural place. Her mother died at child's birth, and the father could not bear to see her because he blamed her for killing his wife. Mm. So he basically abandoned her. But before doing that, he was a person of substance. So before doing that, he left her in the care of a nanny. But he left her well off with cattle and cows and stuff like that. And in the past life session, she said the only friends that she have are these cows. Mm. She would talk to them and they showed her love and etc. But she was out in the woods and a boulder fell and crushed her rib area.
Oh.
And because of limited medical help, etc., she died. She died from that injury. The next day, she called me and she said, for the first time in years, I no longer have this pain.
After you did this regression?
Yes, after the regression. Yes.
Wow. Do you know her status now? Is that still continued?
Oh yeah, this was many years ago. She's still pain-free.
Wow.
And that is, Brian Weiss wrote a book. I don't know if you ever heard about Brian Weiss. He wrote a book, Through Time into Healing.
I've heard of it.
Yes. We're just going back to the past life to see where that injury happened, cures it in this life. Mm-hmm. And that lady for me was my experience of such a dramatic healing. And she also found out, she also got the answer as to why she could never eat meat in this life.
Mm. Oh, because of her relationship with the cows.
Yeah. Because of her relationship with the cows. She said, now I understand why I could never eat meat. Her parents used to try to get her to eat meat, but she couldn't. And that's because of that past life. So past life regression is healing in many ways. Yes.
I think this is actually a great point to address placebo effect again, just because I know, many Americans or whatever would listen to this would probably dismiss this and say, oh, well, you just did this hypnosis thing or whatever, so it's just placebo. I'm not sure why we're so quick. Oh, yeah, I am. We are very quick to dismiss placebo as if it's fake somehow. And yet that's exactly how the body-mind works. So I really appreciate the way that you defined hypnosis as saying that, or not necessarily define it, but give a description of it by saying that it opens up placebo effect just wide open. That makes so much sense to me. So I guess I would say, even if someone doubts the story that accompanied, in this case, this woman that you're talking about, that accompanied her current situation, even if you're willing to dismiss that, at the end of the day, she's healed.
Yes.
Which means it's very efficacious, because also, in addition to the fact she's not the only one. You've worked with many people in this capacity. I also am wondering if you've had any people come to you and you suggest a past life regression, for example, but their faith, their religious background puts up big barriers for them. Have you worked with people like this, and were they able to let it go, or how does that work in your experience so far?
Funny, that's a good question. But if I should show you my list of clients, well, what I do is I have the person complete what I call an intake form so that I get to know quite a bit about you. And on there is religion, religious belief or religious practice. 99% of the people who have come to me will say, I was Catholic, I was Hindu, but I no longer practice or follow that religion.
Okay. So
I
these,
have a
okay.
few holdouts, but the person might still practice, but they now believe in reincarnation.
Oh, does their belief change because of their experiences with past life memories emerging or something like that?
No, I think it is more because it is so much in in mainstream now that even people who are deeply religious are of two minds. And I will tell the few holdout clients that don't feel bad because reincarnation was a part of your Christian religion in its early stages. But because of politics, it had to be tamped down or removed. I don't know if you're aware of that, but reincarnation was a part of early Christianity.
I'm not surprised simply because I just had this conversation with a friend recently. There's a time in the New Testament where Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do the people think I am?" And
Yes.
their response was, some say Elijah, Moses, another prophet, whatever.
Some say John the Baptist returned.
Yes. Right. And then Jesus immediately, he doesn't address that, which I think is fascinating by itself. He immediately jumps to, oh, okay, who do you think I am? Right. And I'm struck by just how I'm struck by what Jesus didn't say. You know, he did not shoot. I mean, at least with the record that we have, he does not appear to shoot back with anything like, what are you talking about? You know, we don't believe in that stuff. It was just, so I have this feeling that it was probably just part of just worldview in general, was just the norm. Yes.
It was,
because it has been for so long globally and still is in many places around the world.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I think it's Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 says that Elijah will return before these things come to pass. that to me is reincarnation.
Yeah.
And another one is to show that the soul lives on outside of the body is when Jesus was on the mount and his disciples asked him if they should prepare 3 meals, one for him and the other 2 people who were there. But it was not really 2 people who were there. It was 2 spirits who were there, 2 souls. So that just goes to show that the soul continues to live after the body dies. And that's what reincarnation is all about.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I do want to address this, and then I want to move into any other experiences you've had in healing people that you want to share. I am curious maybe how or why to direct people back to previous lives, simply because I don't share this or talk about it. All I will say is this: My experience with this concept has been sometimes kind of brutal. I am of the mindset that, for example, if you're working with someone who has a traumatic background in sexual abuse as a child,
Mhm.
when I work with people, I do not, we don't have to go back and relive all that. There's no, let's bring it all
Value.
back up and deal with it again. I don't do that. And I guess I kind of feel similarly to this idea of past life regression, in that I guess my feeling is, if you're still here now, you probably didn't get it right back then. So there's probably a lot of ugly stuff out there. So I'm curious your thoughts on that, your take.
Okay. There can be value to going back to early childhood trauma. Um, most hypnotists will tell you that when we get there, we could do something called reframing, which is to have you see it in a different perspective. It's to relieve or release the emotions that you never allowed yourself to release.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be very, very healing.
Definitely.
So there is some value to that. Okay, so with the past life regression, we have lived, but most of us here now in human form have lived hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. I rarely ever come across a human whose soul is here for the first time. But there are some of those.
Really?
Yes, it's a first time soul. That doesn't mean it's a young soul. It just means that it was off incarnating on other planets. So most of us have done this many, many, many times. Your soul or higher self is not going to take you back to a past life that has no value to you. So it will take you to a past life that is meant to help you with this life. So here's an example. I had a client who presently has a husband who is a full-blown narcissist. And she is struggling with this life. So we did a past life. And in short form, she was born into a poor family. Her parents encouraged her to marry this person who was affluent to make sure she had a better life.
Sure.
Yes. She had a child, and the life was horrible. She was stuck in that life with this guy who was a narcissist.
Oh, you're talking about a past life.
A past life, yes.
Okay. So she's repeating.
She is repeating. But she would not leave. She would not leave because she didn't want to disappoint her parents. And she also didn't want to let go of the affluence that she had gotten used to. She ended up committing suicide.
Oh.
Yes.
She was your client?
Yes.
How was that for you?
It's okay. It's a past life. It's
past life. I thought you meant like now and working.
No.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting lives mixed up.
Yes. The past life she committed suicide. So in her current life, well, what I said to her, because I with most clients, I help them to process the information before they leave. So I asked her, oh, I also ask you in that life, I will ask you to look into the eyes of that person, whether it's your wife, your husband, your child, your mother, father, to see if you recognize that soul in this life. And when I did that to her, she said it's her husband in this life.
So she got stuck with the same narcissist, essentially.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I shouldn't say stuck with. Ultimately, it was her choice.
It's her choice.
Yeah.
Yes. So I said to her, do you see the similarities between your two lives? She said, yes. I said, did you see the lesson in that life? She didn't want to say yes, but she saw it.
Yeah.
Because in this life, this gentleman is well-to-do. She has a cushy life as far as material things are concerned, but she is very, very unhappy.
Right.
So I said, now, what are you going to do with the information? Because your soul gifted you with this to show you what happened in that past life. She says, well, I suppose I am supposed to leave. I said, yes. I suppose that's what your soul was trying to tell you.
Yeah.
That you need to be strong enough to believe in yourself enough to move on. She said, Mr. Anderson, that is very difficult. I will give it some thought. So we stayed in touch. She would listen to the recording and she would hear
Wait, the recording of her past life regression?
Yeah, I recorded. I do a voice, a tape recording that I give you to take home with you.
Oh, neat.
And
okay.
It's for ethics and transparency and all that.
Yep. Love it.
Yes. So that you see exactly what I said to you and you see what came up in your session. So she would listen to it and then something would blow up in her head and she would call me or send me a text. And then one rainy day, she called me and she said, you wouldn't believe I've been driving around for hours. I said, is it raining where you are? She said, yes. I said, why? She said, I'm thinking about ending it. I said, but you did that in a past life. And that was not the solution. There are other ways to end it besides ending your life. She says, yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
She did call you.
Yes. I said, I can't make you do anything. It's all your choice. It's called free will. But I would advise you that ending your life is not the solution. So she didn't.
Enos, I really appreciate your approach so much because it feels so much like mine in that when I work with people, either collectively or individually, I refuse to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do, what they should or shouldn't think or feel. I will not do it. And many people could probably hear you say this and think, you should have fought harder. No, it's not your responsibility. This is her journey. And she has to work through this stuff herself. I see beauty and the fact that she took a drive to end her life and you were the one she called. She already knew what you were going to say.
Yes.
She knew. And yet she still called you. I think that's lovely, and sounds like it saved her life.
For the moment, yes.
Mm,
I don't know what the future holds.
sure.
Yes. Mm.
Again, we all have to work through our own journey.
That's it.
And if people who come along, whether it's society, religion, whatever, that say you must do this and these are the rules, all that does is just limit you.
Yes.
It really limits your potential, it limits your understanding. And wow, when you let go of those things, it's just like scales falling off.
Of course.
Powerful stuff.
What I say is that I can be the light on your path, but you have to walk that path yourself.
Right.
Mhm.
You do. You
Yes.
have to. I've learned this myself. You know, for much of my life, I was like most people in that I I felt like the victim. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, bam, 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 one thing after another. And I could not understand it until I kind of stepped back from it and I went through this intense experience over the last several years that have really culminated and quickened during the last year, where I was able to see, oh, I did this,
Mhm.
all of it. I welcomed it into my life. And there were times in my life where I kind of had the word pray, Prey, tattooed across my forehead. Come get me. I'm here for the taking. That's how I presented myself, like
And so you can't blame anyone but yourself.
exactly.
Yes.
Now I
Yes.
know that, but it's taken 46 years to figure that out. And a lot of
Bumps along the way.
bumps along the way, a lot of falling
Yes.
off cliffs.
Uh-huh. I was just in an accident. And
Yes, you
most
were.
people would have been so upset. I got T-boned, and I accept that this happened for a reason. So I usually say, accept that whatever happens was meant to happen and try to find the reason why it happened. I was on my way. I was going to leave for Jamaica on Friday, and I got into this accident on Thursday. So I had to cancel a trip. And I said, no, this happened because I was not supposed to go. Either because something was going to happen in Jamaica that I was meant to avoid, or something is going to happen in Trinidad that I should be here for. And I said to my wife, boy, the universe usually nudges you. And I accept that they didn't want me to go, but they could have been a little gentler, you know?
The T-bone.
Yes.
Yeah. When you
And she
told
said,
me, yeah.
she said, well, you know how hard-headed you are. They were forced to be tough with you, or else you would still have gone. I said, yeah. It had to be something dramatic for me to cancel a trip. So here I am, but accepted.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are quick to dismiss those kinds of things too, that, whatever these things that happen to you or around you, that it's all disconnected. And yet through my experience in thinking that way, and then being presented with so many synchronicities in my life in various ways, connected to other people, other circumstances, that now I don't see anything as accidental or
No.
just is. And everywhere there's something that I can learn from. I know that there's something that I need in there. Yet recently I spoke with this woman who having a very difficult time. And she, over the course of a year, she had been in 3 car accidents, and all
Wow.
of them were her fault. And all of them involved her slamming into somebody. And
Wow.
I was like, I have a pretty clear idea of what this kind of message is for you. And she's like, well, how'd you take it? And I said, universe is telling you to slow the F down. Like, you need to stop. You got to stop doing something.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
chill and rest. She's like,
Mhm.
that's what I took from it.
Mhm.
And she was in school at the time and drowning herself. As we were talking, she was drowning herself with school. And I was like, did you get the message? Like, stop, just take a breather. And she actually decided to withdraw from school for a while after our conversation. I was really glad to hear that. But yeah, these things matter.
Of course.
They're not insignificant. So thank you for sharing that about your car wreck. As soon as you told me that, I was like, oh, there's something in here for him, because that's a big deal.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, we started off with healing, and I would like to say something about natural healing, whether it be
Sure.
okay.
You wanted to
Okay.
say something about healing?
Yes. Um, let me go back a little bit and say, before we come into this life, we plan our lives. And sometimes we plan ailments, sicknesses for very good reason. Maybe not so much for ourselves, but for a loved one close to us. So, as an example, let's say I plan a life and I'm going to be struck with an ailment that leaves me bedridden. There are a couple lessons that could be in there. One lesson could be for me to learn to ask for help. It could be for me to learn to be humble, because now all my needs have to be taken care of by someone else. And humility can be a tough lesson. And what better way to learn to be humble and when you can't do anything for yourself? It could also be an opportunity for someone close to me to learn patience and compassion. So if that person in their humanness says, I would love to be healed of this illness, their soul knows that illness is there for both of us, my caretaker and myself, because of lessons that we desire to learn. So no matter how good that energy healer is, that problem will not be healed. And that is what I learned after I had been doing energy healing for a while. I learned that it is not every illness or ailment that is meant to be healed. And if you try to heal it, you're going to look like a failure. And that failure is not because you have lost the ability to heal, but it's because that ailment is there for learning purposes. So if you go to an energy healer and it doesn't happen, what you need to do possibly is to find out, why do I really have this illness? What lesson can I learn from this? And when you accept that, that in itself is a form of healing.
Yes, I've experienced that myself. it's like the acknowledgement. You just got to
Yes.
acknowledge it, and then
Yes.
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 I'm wondering if you could speak for a moment to what you just said about how we, before we get here, before we're born into this life, that we choose our plan, so to speak. We choose what's going to happen to us and so forth. I feel like that is a very, first of all, without a background in you know, or in the West, we don't have a background with reincarnation and the concept of past lives at all. Hang on, I'm gathering my thoughts.
That's okay.
This is something I struggled with for a long time. I could not understand why in the world I would have chosen my life path. I also look at, you know, horrific situations where people are, especially children, who are being physically abused, mentally abused in one way or another. It's difficult without having that worldview background. I think it can be difficult for Americans, for example, to hear, oh, I chose this ahead of time. Do you have any thoughts about that? Have you encountered that? Like, well, have you had people that you've worked with and you've said, you know, this is what you chose, and they're like, hell no, I didn't choose it, because they can't reconcile that. That's an odd thing to reconcile for people, that they would choose a life of suffering in some form or fashion. You have thoughts there?
Yes. Okay, so when most times when a person does a past life regression, quite a few people want to go back to a past life where they were a princess or prince or something like that. That past life, even though it exists, rarely shows up. The past life that shows up is usually the past life of suffering, hardship, tough lessons. And it's because there is more value to those lives than to a life of plenty. But all our lives are balanced. So when you plan a life, it's never about, even if you plan a life that you're going to be rich, there has to be some lessons in there beyond material wealth. So it could be, okay, I'm going to have a life where I have all these riches, but it's also going to be an opportunity for me to learn what it's like not to be loved by anyone. So you are rich in material things, but you're poor in love.
Right.
So it shows you that, hey, all that wealth does not buy you love from others. It's a lonely, lonely life at the top. Mm-hmm. And it's not just, so we plan all aspects of the life, major aspects of the life. So I will say to someone in my, what I call the circle, small circle soul group.
Oh, neat.
And these are our soulmates. We don't have one soulmate. We have a group that is our soulmates. So I will say to my circle, I'm going back to Earth and I want to experience what it is like to be despised, to live without love and care. And someone will say, That's really a tough life, but I will be your mother in that life. And you will say, bear in mind that I don't want a loving mother. I want a mother who is going to be cold, who will show me no love.
All to learn this lesson.
The absence of love.
Mm.
Because that is something that you cannot learn while at home, because home is pure positive love. That's why we come to Earth, to experience duality and negativity.
You don't mean home as in our physical location, our house. You mean where we come from.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
That place we came from before coming here, that place where we sit and do that planning. And even I'm Jamaican, and Jamaicans are said to be very homophobic, which is not true. Homophobia means that you are afraid of homosexuals. We're not afraid of homosexuals. We do not like the lifestyle of homosexuals. So let's say I want to experience what it's like to be a homosexual. A good place to be born would be in Jamaica.
Huh.
Yes, because that is going to give you the toughest time, the toughest experience as a homosexual. If you're born in Sweden, it's I just pick Sweden, I don't know. It's accepted. But to be born in Jamaica, you'll be scourged, you'll be an outcast, your parents will kick you out the house. So it is really the toughest lesson being a homosexual. So we pick the place, we pick the experience, we get volunteers to play the roles, and we also select our exit points. And you notice I say points, because we don't plan into this. We don't have just one exit. We plan multiple exits into this incarnation. That's why sometimes people have near-death experiences.
Oh, I wasn't sure what you meant by that when you said we plan multiple exits.
Yes.
Okay. To actually leave this life.
To actually leave this life, yes. Yes.
So that could come in car accidents or anything. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this whole incarnation is planned out. We pick the people, we ask for their participation, and let me give this guy a plug. Robert Schwartz has an excellent book, Your Soul's Plan, that really sheds light on the process we go through.
I'm writing it down so I can check it out later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can do a hypnosis session where you can go back to, where you can go home and you can sit in on such a planning session. Where you, oh yeah, you watch yourself picking that body, picking the gender. Your chief guide might say to you, that body type might not work in that climate. Something like that.
That's great.
But yeah, that is a nice hypnosis session to attend.
Interesting.
Where you actually see this planning taking place.
If people want to work with you, reach out
Yes.
to you? Is that an option? Or are you got a full list?
No, I only do in-person hypnosis.
Mm,
I don't do internet hypnosis.
mhm,
And my reason is I am a purist. And when you're in trance and some emotion comes up and tears are running down your cheeks, I like to get my piece of tissue and dab that tear for you.
mhm.
There are times when you need to go a little deeper. And my method is to put my hand on your shoulder, breathe with you, and send you a little deeper. I can't do that over the internet.
Right.
So I only do in person, face to face. But I
Okay.
will be in Philadelphia in June.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Okay. You can do in-person, face-to-face healing there, and hypnotherapy
Yes,
there. Okay.
right. And I don't really advertise. My clients that I see are by referral from satisfied clients.
Right. I
Yes.
figured.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Enos, this has been wonderful, enlightening. I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for your willingness to share, not just with me, but to the public.
Yes.
What I think I told you this and what I stated at the beginning of the first video that I made actually about this yesterday. I did my first extraordinary experiences video yesterday. And
Okay.
what I explained to people was that I just want to normalize these experiences rather than pathologize them. In the West, like I was mentioning earlier, if it's not measurable, if you can't see it, taste it, smell it, touch it, hear it, then it doesn't exist. And that is definitely limiting. And it doesn't cover the range of human experience either. This is one thing I actually love about transpersonal psychology. Trans meaning across, like it's across
Yes.
the human experience, where uh, whether it's dreaming or extraordinary experiences or these are all part of our experience, but we're taught to deny them. That you have a mental disorder that needs correcting if you're experiencing something like this.
That's right.
And I'm saying, no, this has been happening for thousands upon thousands of years. It continues happening, these kinds of experiences. And I see them very much as kind of nature's way of mitigating trauma and forcing you to go inward.
Yes.
That's the feminine. She forces you to look within and to evaluate yourself. I say force, many people just ignore it, especially in the West.
Yes.
We ignore it because it's not real.
Yes.
And so though these experiences that I'm addressing, they fall into this category of both real and not real. They're in the liminal, they're in the in-between. It's that space where you're not asleep, but you're not awake either. That little tiny sliver of time where things get weird. That's liminal space. And if it's things that are weird, we ignore. And so I'm saying these experiences are essential to our existence and to understanding what we are. And so let's not ignore them. Let's not medicate them. Let's not institutionalize them. Let's normalize them because they're normal in many parts of the world,
Oh, yes.
just not here. So
that is so true. I really appreciate what you're doing, and every little bit helps to educate the masses.
yes,
And
thank you.
yes. Oh,
Yes.
by the way, I must before you close, I must say that the hypnosis healing that I do by tapping into the subconscious,
Mhm.
this can be achieved through meditation.
Yes. I'm glad you
Um,
said that.
yes, but it takes years of practice and training to get to that theta brainwave
Right.
level where this healing can take place. But it is possible, and people do achieve that level.
Yes.
So I don't want people to think that it's just hypnosis that gets you to tap into the subconscious. And last but not least is my
Oh, that's right. You have a book. Have we lived
yes,
before? People can purchase this book. What's the best way? What do you prefer people purchase this?
Amazon Kindle.
Okay, it comes through Kindle. Okay, but you have a hard
Yes.
copy. Okay.
I have a few hard copies for a few special people.
Okay. I understand. Well,
Well, if you later on, if you give me your address
okay.
in June when I get to the States, I'll mail one to you.
I'll take it. Thank you. I'm so curious
Yes.
to read your story and yeah, very much so. Well, thank you. Truly, I am grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thanks for contributing to my work and helping to normalize these as much as I can. So I appreciate you, Enos. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that we can stay connected.
Thank you very much. Have a great day
You
and
too.
get a past life regression.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.